Welcome. The September 29th, 2015 City Council meeting is now called to order. Tonight, our prayer and pledge will be led by the Reverend Robert Evans of Bethel Temple of Longview. Please rise.
Our God and our Father, as we come before you, our hearts are extremely grateful that we still have this open opportunity to call on your name in a public place. We thank you for the gathering together of this mayor, this council, and all the constituents that are present here today representing this wonderful city of Longview. Now we ask that your kingdom rulership of heaven, let it so rule in this city and beyond. May our thoughts be in sync with your thoughts. May our heart be united with your heart. May the choices that we make be congruent with your will, and that it all will be for the greater good of this entire city and to the county and the state at large and for our country. Help us one and all. Guide these decision makers, and we'll praise you and honor you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Evans. It's a pleasure to call you a friend. We are now to employee recognition. Tonight, we're recognizing code compliance. We want to take a moment to recognize some employees that play an important role in combating blight in the Longview community. Code compliance is an effort within the Development Services Department and is responsible for addressing issues such as substandard buildings, high grass, litter, junk vehicles, and zoning issues. Usually these efforts are conducted on a complaint-driven basis. However, code compliance is increasingly working to address issues proactively, working in conjunction with the Longview Police Department, Public Works, and Community Services to help identify issues and conduct neighborhood sweeps and cleanup efforts. For instance, they have recently conducted neighborhood sweeps in Districts 3 and 5. All told, they have already addressed approximately 1,500 issues across Longview in 2015. So tonight, we'd like to recognize the efforts of our code compliance employees. Please come up as I call your name. Kenny James, Supervisor. Jackie Richardson. Marco Garrett. Eddie Pickard. Sabrina Graves. And Shannon Davis. I just want to take a moment to say that, once again, code compliance isn't glamorous. It's not easy, but it is so necessary, and we've made it such an important issue in the recent months because of what's been happening in Longview, and we really appreciate every one of you all and the jobs that you all do, because, as we said, it's a complaint-driven issue, but you all have gone above and beyond, and you've taken initiatives to go out and help us to help clean up this city. And the more we do this, the more we eliminate these blighted areas of Longview. And this is one of our steps in getting our public safety under control. And from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every one of your efforts and all that you do. Y'all are amazing people. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Can you take a picture? Please.
Let's crowd in a little bit.
Come on in close.
Okay, one more. Let's see.
Thank you all so much. why they're leaving, I'm going to just expand on that just a little bit. I know it doesn't really register with us because it didn't register with me until I started realizing how important it is for us to really focus on this area of Longview, because this is where it starts. And this is where we need to be starting to get these areas under control, to bring them into compliance, or to get rid of them, because this is where the people are hanging out that are up to no good, that are causing problems in our community. And we're going to continue with these fine group of people, this department, to police this area in conjunction with our police department and other areas, so that we are going to make a difference. And I thank you all very, very much. Okay, we're to citizen comment. I have one speaker card. Kimberly Fish.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I appreciate the opportunity of addressing you tonight. I'm grateful for your continued interest and your support of the comprehensive plan, and I applaud you for keeping that in the budget. I know that you're in a consideration time right now. There's a lot of conversation about the Hensley Park development project. And I see this as very important, not only for the retail and commercial development that exists for North Longview, but it creates a new opportunity for us as a City of Longview, working with our Planning and Development Services Department, to create a higher standard for construction, to ask our developers to meet our standard for development, not only in including specific design standards that would create a uniform appearance in our city, but create the green spaces that people enjoy and are drawn to, not only improving the marketability of their project, but improving the livability for the citizens of Longview. And Hensley Park is a massive development opportunity, and it's my hope that you will take all this under consideration as you're going forward, that should the development project become a reality, that we can take a good look at our design standards, require that our investors and developers meet our standards, and then set a new bar for Longview as we go forward with future projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have no more speaker cards. Would anyone else like to speak and fill out a card later? Very good. Okay, we're presentation items now. I have two proclamations to read. The first one will be commemorating East Texas Down Syndrome Group's 14th Annual Buddy Walk. I'll be presenting this to Alex Mack, my niece, and to Miss Tiffany Angus. So would y'all please come forward?
Can Austin come too?
How are you? Nice to see you. Hi, sweetie. Okay. This is a proclamation commemorating October 10th, 2015 as East Texas Down Syndrome Group Buddy Walk Day. Whereas Down syndrome is a genetic condition and the most frequently occurring chromosomal abnormality, and whereas people with Down syndrome are members of this community and have a variety of positive ways they can contribute, and whereas the National Down Syndrome Society has created buddy walks to encourage the acceptance and inclusion of people with Down syndrome in their communities. And whereas the East Texas Down Syndrome Group's 14th Annual Buddy Walk will be on Saturday, October 10th, 2015 in downtown Longview. Now, therefore, I, Andy Mack, by the authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of Longview, do proclaim October 10th, 2015 as East Texas Down Syndrome Group Buddy Walk Day in Longview. And I present this to you.
Thank you.
And I thank you all. The Buddy Walk, I've been involved in this for, well, 14 years. This is a very special day. If you all are available, you should come out. It's a very, very special time. This is a very uplifting event that is a lot of care, a lot of love, a lot of thought goes into this. And so it's one of the highlights of our year, and we're so thankful that you all are continuing to do it. You all are raising money for our area kids, and that's what it's all about. So hats off, applause to you all, and we look forward to the Buddy Walk and many, many more.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you. And in case y'all missed it, my niece Alex Mack was named football sweetheart for Longview High School last weekend. Next, we have a proclamation commemorating Fire Prevention Week, October 4th through October 10th, 2015. Whereas the City of Longview, Texas is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting Longview. Homes fires killed 2,755 people in the United States in 2013, according to the National Fire Protection Association. And fire departments in the United States responded to 369,500 home fires. Working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half, and whereas 3 of 5 home fire deaths result from fires in properties without working smoke alarms. Whereas Longview residents should install smoke alarms in every sleeping room, outside each separate sleeping area, on every level of the home. And whereas Longview residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. Whereas Longview's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries throughout prevention and protection education. So whereas in 2015 Fire Prevention Week theme, Hear the Beep Where You Sleep. Every bedroom needs a working smoke alarm. Effectively serves to remind us that we need working smoke alarms to give us the time to get out safely. So now therefore, I, Andy Mack, by the authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of Longview, Texas, do hereby proclaim October 4th through the 10th, 2015 as Fire Prevention Week in Longview. Johnny, come please. Our Fire Marshal, Johnny Zachary, Fire Chief, Chief Stillman. Come on up, Chief Stillman. Come on up, gang. Okay, I'm gonna give this to you. Okay, Chief Stillman's coming up. I want to just mention this, that those statistics are mind-boggling, and they're so true, and we need to really be aware of this, and that's why hopefully the challenge that we issued a few weeks ago, people are dropping off smoke alarms and CO2 detectors to you all so you can distribute them to those that need them, and we will prevent these deaths and these fires, and when they do occur, we have no doubt our first responders are on the scene as quickly as possible. We appreciate you guys, and we thank you, and we appreciate this week where we can be more aware of what's going on in Longview. So thank you all so much. It's a privilege to be here with you all on this. Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, we're to our public safety update. And this is something new that we're doing, and bear with me a second, because we're going to do this at every council meeting from this point forward. We're going to have public safety updates because public safety is certainly important to us all right now, and we're at a heightened awareness, and I want to be as transparent as we can be so that the citizens know what we know. And I've asked both the fire chief and the police chief to come up and just give us what's going on, just so we're all aware of things. And there'll be weeks where there's nothing to talk about, and that's great. But there are also weeks where they're going to bring us up to date so that we all feel more comfortable knowing that they're on this and we will solve these problems. So I know it's different, and I appreciate you guys taking the time. I know you're very busy, but I appreciate you coming up and making us aware of where we stand, because I think the citizens need to be aware that we are aware. We take this very, very seriously, and we have not overlooked anything. So please, Chief Bishop.
Dr. Mack, council members, and Mr. Willard. Thank you for the opportunity to update the council tonight on the status of public safety and the things that we have going on within the police department. There's a few areas that I'd like to briefly touch on tonight with you. First is the staffing of the police department. Today, we currently have 12 vacancies. On October 12, 2015, we will begin a new academy at the East Texas Police Academy and have 7 recruits processed and hired to start this academy, which will leave us with 5 vacancies going into the new fiscal year. We currently have 9 recruits in the East Texas Police Academy that will graduate in October of 2015, and 2 recruits in the Tyler Junior College Academy. They will graduate December 11th. These 11 recruits should be fully trained by mid-April and on the streets. The 7 starting the academy soon will be fully trained by mid-July of 2016. We are making great progress with our recruiting efforts to become fully staffed. Second is citizen involvement. We have been asking for citizens to get involved, and they are responding to our request. Looking at the number of Crime Stoppers tips from June 1 to today, we have received over 170 anonymous tips that come in through the Crime Stoppers program that have provided information on various crimes under investigation by the police. This information is providing some success with our current open investigations. I would like to keep encouraging those that have the knowledge of criminal activity to report this activity to Crime Stoppers by calling 236-STOP, where you can remain anonymous. National Night Out is October 6, 2015, and as of today, we have 100 parties registered to participate in this crime prevention effort. This number surpasses our numbers last year and hopefully will continue to grow this last week. Individuals wishing to hold a National Night Out party can register by contacting Partners in Prevention at 237-1019. This is a great way for our department to communicate with the community on crime prevention efforts. On September 10th, we started our 24th annual Citizens Police Academy with 35 participants who are learning more about their police department. Our police area representatives are continuing to develop new neighborhood crime watch groups. We want to encourage our citizens to contact their respective PAR officers with their neighborhood concerns. And third, Mayor, an update on the Mayor's Challenge. Over the last couple of weeks, we have seen the generosity of our community in donating several cases of water, Gatorade, and car seats. I'd like to thank the Longview community for the love and support you have shown to your officers and staff over the last month with the cards, food, and drinks that were dropped off at the station. The officers and staff appreciate it very much. In closing, I know over the past several weeks we have had several major incidents that have occurred in our city that have made our citizens feel uneasy about their safety. Over the last several weeks, we have had additional officers on the street that are focusing on people and places that are involved in violent criminal activity. I personally have visited with citizens groups and council members to provide information about their concerns. Communicating with the community is important, and I want to ensure our citizens that we are working harder than ever to ensure their safety.
Chief Bishop, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to do this, and I know the citizens appreciate it too. Just knowing where we are gives us some peace of mind. So I appreciate all the information you gave us and for the job that you guys are doing, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chief Steelman,
Mayor.
good to see you, sir.
Hey, thanks for being here, and thanks for allowing me the time to get up in front of you. Well, I kind of went a little bit different direction. I wanted to update the mayor and the council on some initiatives at the fire department. As we're winding down September, October is a big month for us, and as you read the proclamation for Fire Prevention Week, we essentially worked that into a month's worth of activities. We hit October really hard, trying to get the fire safety message out into the community, all different age groups, to really get that influence on them about how sensitive and how important fire safety is all the time, not just the month of October, but year-round. The populations at risk from fires are the very young and the very old, and we certainly have a great representation in our community of that. So making sure that we have programs out there in place to really get that impact across to those population groups is important to us. We do this through elementary school visits. Apparatus demos, station tours are our common means. We also do puppet shows. We'll be involved with Safety City across the street, rotating children through there. And we cap this off with our annual block party. So I wanted to give you a preview tonight of some of the activities, and we have a PSA that I'd like for, Angie's going to pull that up for you now, to just another caveat that we've put in place this year to try and get that message out into the community.
October is Fire Prevention Month, and Sparky is going to show you what to do when you hear the beep where you sleep. Sparky, are you ready? Just like Sparky, make sure to roll out of bed. It's important not to stand up just in case smoke is in the room because you don't want to breathe in bad air. Now get on your hands and knees, get low and go. When you're safely out of your house, go to your meeting place. Great job, Sparky. For more information, go to longviewtexas.gov/fire or call 903-237-1119.
So we take the fire safety in the community, it's personal to us, and it's more than just the 7 people assigned in our fire prevention office can deal with. So all 178 members of the fire department really get behind this, especially during the month of October, to really push this out. And the capstone of this is an annual block party that we do. So we want to put that up there for you now so that you can have a placeholder on your calendars. It'll be October the 31st from 10 to 2. We host this in conjunction with The Rock, associated with the First Baptist Church, which is our backyard neighbor there at the fire station. And it's just a fun day of events to come out. We'll do some demos. We'll just have a lot of activities for the kids, but really kind of pulls it all together for the messages that we've been out there trying to impress on the citizens for the whole month. I'm happy to answer any questions on the fire prevention thing. You read the statistics, and it is something that impacts a lot of communities. We're fortunate here in Longview that our numbers just aren't that bad. We do see injuries from fire and occasional fatalities from fire, but it certainly could be a lot worse. And I credit that to the work that our men and women do of getting this message out into the community each and every day. So thank you for the opportunity to share that. One other piece of information that I wanted to share real quick that's pertinent to the time, and Angie, would you put that slide up, is October the 1st kicks off our registration period for our EMS subscription service. This has been around since 2010, and this is where for $70 a year, each household can register to be a part of our EMS subscription service. And what that essentially equates to is that if you use our EMS service, you call for a Longview Fire Department ambulance, you're not going to have any out-of-pocket expenses. You've covered it with your $70 for the year. We've been doing this since 2010, and I have some statistics. The average cost of an ambulance ride is anywhere from $800 to $1,000. So $70 is a pretty good bargain, especially if you're a chronic user of EMS, and those people are in our community. To date, we have, I'm sorry, I put my glasses on. We have 983 residents representing 624 households currently enrolled. And already we have 872 households that have requested registration forms. So you can tell the numbers are still slow to come around, and we need your help to get the word out in the community that this is a benefit that a lot of cities don't have, but we're proud to provide that here in Longview, that our residents really should pay attention to and maybe take advantage of, just to have that extra added level of protection. I'm happy to answer any questions on that. Yes, sir. Oh, you don't have anything?
It's not a question on that. It's I just wanted to make a comment on your block party. Now, is that October 31st?
Yes, sir.
That's Halloween Day.
Yes, sir. We look forward to seeing you in your costume there.
All right. But this is, I just wanted to mention again, this is at the main fire station downtown, and there's activities for all age groups, especially for the younger kids. We participated in it several years, and it's definitely something that you need to think about doing.
It's good free entertainment.
Yes.
And we'll feed you. So we'll have that whole block cordoned off, and we'll be out there having a good time.
Thank you. Chief Stillman, I want to thank you for coming up and giving us this information, because once again, these are things I didn't even know about this. That's an amazing deal, the $70. That's something that every citizen in Longview, every household should look into, and you all provide a wonderful service. And thank you for all the information, because this is what this is about. We want public safety to be in the forefront of our citizenry so that they understand what we're doing and what's going on, the opportunities there. And I appreciate you coming up and taking the time.
I want to get a quick plug in to follow Chief Bishop's lead. The community response to your challenge has been great. So we appreciate the support that our community, once again, it amazes me that we live in such a great community that people just get behind these kind of initiatives and throw a hand in, and we appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you both so much. Okay, we're now to a public hearing. Will be held to receive public comment on the proposed removal of the park designation from Hensley Park and the proposed sale or conveyance of said land for other purposes. Mr. Willard.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just as a little backdrop before the public hearing begins, I might take just a moment to bring us up to date of the reason we are here tonight. Several months ago, city staff was contacted by a development group, representatives that were interested in the possibility of acquiring the Hensley Park property, 38 acres there at the corner of Hawkins Parkway and 259. Of course, their interest was to have the opportunity for commercial development. From that very first meeting, we made several things very clear to the group. The first is that the city, by law, could not do anything with that property other than use it as a park unless the council called for an election and the citizens of Longview voted to remove the park designation from the property. And at that time, then the city council could consider things, but not until then. The other thing that we talked extensively about and that was a basis of our understanding is that before we would move forward and bring the idea to the council to call the election to give the citizens an opportunity to look at this, that there would have to be a full replacement of Hensley Park to be relocated with better and newer, of course, amenities at the new location. And once there was an understanding that they were willing to do that, if the citizens and the council wanted to move forward, then we came to the city council, and on August the 13th, council voted to call an election in this first step to ask the citizens to give us their decision on how they would like to proceed forward. According to state law and election laws, tonight we have a public hearing prior to the November 3rd election that this will be on the ballot. And before, Mayor, you open the public hearing for public comment, we thought it would be beneficial for the council and the citizens to hear a presentation from our developer group. So tonight I wanted to welcome SDI Realty, Mr. Charlie Shears, principal with that firm, as well as Craig Carney with Carney Engineering. These two gentlemen and another gentleman, Ken Dellery, who's not here tonight. Mr. Bonds and I and Mr. Karen have had extensive meetings with them, and so we invite them to give you a presentation on their plans and their vision for the future.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Mayor, councilman, councilwomen, thanks for having us here tonight to talk about Hensley Park. My name is Charlie Shears. I'm with SDI Realty Advisors. Give you a little background on who we are. We're based out of Houston. We're actually located in downtown Houston, 712 Main Street, 29th floor. We started the real estate development business. Ken Dellery, my partner, and I started it in the last century. 1997 is when we formed our company. We, at that point, realized that retail development was needed in secondary markets. So instead of concentrating in areas like Houston or Dallas, where we're located in Houston, we decided to venture off into secondary markets. College Station, Port Arthur, Texas, the Valley, McAllen, Texas, Weslaco. We ventured off into Louisiana, developed in Baton Rouge, Shreveport, and we are just completing a large development in Bossier City. And we went to markets where people wanted to see new retail development. And so that's what we did. We concentrated in those markets and brought in quite a few retailers. Most of our developments were larger retail developments with Lowe's, Walmart, Kroger, JCPenney, TJ Maxx, some of your larger retailers that you see in typical shopping centers in larger metros. A lot of these shopping centers are anywhere between 150,000 square feet to 300,000 square feet in square footage. So that kind of led us into markets, like I said, the secondary markets. Someone asked me, why Longview? Well, the tenant that we do business with currently right now said, we need you guys to go look at East Texas. I said, all right, we named some cities. And they said, Charlie, we need to locate in Longview, and we need to locate here. That was actually the beginning of how we got started in Longview. Hensley Park. That's where ground zero in their mind is where they need to be. So that kind of gives you a little background on who we are and how we got here. And I will say that most of the developments that we've done in these cities, we typically stay. I think we're out, we're still in Shreveport, we're still in Bossier, we're still down in South Texas. So once the development is completed, we're here. So we're just grateful to be a possible neighbor with the city. Craig?
Mayor, City Council, and Mr. Wilder, thank you so much for allowing us to make this presentation. This slide is a little hard to read, but that which is bordered in red is the boundary of the new park. It's on Judson Road. It's just north of the Summit Club, just to provide a reference. There's a hillside road that's just that tees into Judson that would tee into the property. So this property sits back, as you can tell, off of Judson Road. It's over 40 acres. One of the things I think that's real important for the council to know, it's real important for the citizens to know, is that we have gone, in our opinions, to great lengths to get citizen input, stakeholder input. Primarily, we've had a couple of meetings with the Parks and Recs board as a group. We've had meetings and conversations with individuals on that group. We've met with the softball group, those that participate in the league. We've met with the Disc Golf Association. We've had individual conversations with members of that association. We had a neighborhood meeting, I guess 2 weeks ago, with those neighbors who are adjoining the new park, got their input. And of course, we're here tonight to get your input as a council, as well as the citizens' input. So we've learned a lot. We've listened. And I think that most will tell you that what you're about to see is an evolution of the comments that we have received from the stakeholders and the citizens. We've got a video that we have prepared, and we're going to cue that up, that we think you will enjoy, that will tell a portion of the story about the new park. One of the things I think that's worth noting, this 40-plus acres is heavily wooded. And for the purposes of demonstration for our video, we didn't show as many trees as is actually out there, just so that you could see what we intend to construct from the views that we've shown. So we intend to leave as many of the trees as possible, particularly in the disc golf course. Now this slide here, in the next couple of slides, will give you a comparison to illustrate, I think, what currently exists at Hensley Park and what we plan at the new park. Currently there's 38 acres, but Ned's about 37. A portion of 4th Street took a portion of the park, so I think there's right now about 37. We'll have over 40 Parking spaces, currently there's about 230 at Hensley. We'll have 390 at the new park. Of course, both parks will have 4 fields. The softball folks made it real clear to us that each field needs to be 300 feet to the outfield. That's important. I think right now there's some that's 275, 310, 280. It varies. They both have paved parking lots, of course. It's important, particularly from a safety standpoint, that we'll have an abundance and more than adequate lighting at the new park. Both are covered dugouts. The softball folks, got down to the details with us. They want bat racks, they want cooler stands, they want cup dispensers, and so we want to provide that. It's important. Bleachers, both of course have bleachers. We'll have shaded bleachers, much like you see out at Lear Park. Concession building, of course, you have both. We'll have both, much like you have at Hensley, but it'll be air conditioned. We'll have an umpire's room, be plenty of storage, and of course, what is a softball field without internet and Wi-Fi? So we'll certainly have that. Some of the details that, it probably doesn't matter unless you're the person out there weed eating. We'll have a concrete strip underneath the fence to make it easier to maintain. We'll have a Tifway hybrid Bermuda. That's a type that you see on sometimes many golf courses in the fairways. So we'll have that. The infield will be decomposed granite mix. So that way, after a rain, you can get back out there and play on it very quickly. Disc golf, and I'll have to tell you, I learned a lot about disc golf, and some of these guys that I'm sure it's in the audience, they were patient with me, and I learned a lot, and I appreciate their sport, and more than that, I appreciate their passion. They're very passionate about it. So right now there's about 14 acres dedicated at Hensley for disc golf. We'll have over 20 acres. And there's just a difference between having just in whatever you do, don't call it Frisbee, it's disc golf. And that's important. Is tournament quality, Tier 1. Right now, I understand at Hensley, you might consider it Tier 2. And so you don't have to go to Tyler, and you don't have to go to Mount Vernon. Apparently there's some tournament quality courses there. Folks can stay here and have the tournaments, bring the tournaments here to Longview. Some of the passive park equipment, pavilions at Hensley, there's one, we'll have at least 6. Playgrounds, there's one, we'll have at least 2. Benches and picnic tables and so forth, there's 11, we'll have at least 21. We've been asked a lot of questions over the course of some of these meetings, and we've read some of the comments online after some of the newspaper articles, and so of course we've already gone over one of the questions: what kind of input have you gotten from the citizens? And we've gotten a ton, and again we've incorporated a lot of the comments into our plans to date. One of the questions important to the citizens: what about light pollution out there at the new park? And we've got about a 50-foot buffer of mature trees that will buffer the neighbors. And due to the topography, and one thing I want to point out, I've got a couple of slides here that'll illustrate it. If you look at the parking lot on the east side or the right side of the 4 fields, that's going to be about 15 to 20 feet higher than the elevation of the fields. It's going to have a kind of a Lobo Stadium feel as it's built into the topography. And yet there's going to be yet an additional change in elevation with the disc golf course. And so this slide here, again, I apologize with the lights, is kind of difficult to see, but we're looking west. And so the parking lot that you see there will be about 15 feet or so higher than the fields. And so what that translates into is a cross-section that looks like this, is that the ball fields will be much lower than the surrounding residents. So if you look, this is a to-scale drawing, and so the lights will be at or below the tops of the trees. And so it will certainly shield the lights from the field. And with technology today, the way they manufacture these light fixtures and the actual light bulbs themselves, you got pretty much a sniper shot, if you will. I mean, you can read a book on one side and, you'll need a flashlight almost on the other, because the technology has grown quite a bit. Used to, when I was growing up, my parents would take me to football games. You didn't need GPS. You didn't need a map. You just looked to see where the brightest spot in the sky was, and that's where the football field was. So that's the direction that you went. What about noise? Again, much of the same topography. We're going to take advantage of it. There's going to be this same slope or retaining wall that will attenuate the noise. It will dampen it. Much like airports, like Love Field, for example. You'll be driving down Cedar Springs, going towards the terminal, and you have jets taking off right there. But there's some of the features that will slope that sound back up. And like I represented to the neighbors, I'm not going to say that you won't hear a peep, but it's not going to be like somebody's playing ball in your living room. And so we felt like with some of the topography and some of those features that we'll be able to accommodate some of their concerns in the neighborhood. What about traffic? Of course, as you well know, Judson Road is essentially a 7-lane road, three lanes going in each direction with a left-hand turn lane. It carries, and I don't have that number, maybe Keith or somebody here does, the amount of traffic that it's capable of carrying, but I can assure you that the amount of traffic that will go in and out of Hensley will be insignificant. But I might add with that is that this is a TxDOT road, and so we will perform traffic impact analysis to demonstrate quantitatively that that's not going to be an issue. But the other thing that we've done is we'll have 2 lanes that will exit the property, and so during those periods of times that you got folks coming in, games are over, people are leaving, we feel comfortable that we can get the people in and out comfortably. The other thing I think to point out, particularly in the right-of-way, we'll have that clear. We'll have a monument sign with lighting, so particularly at night, as you're approaching it, you'll know that you're getting close, and it's time to get ready to take a left if you're going north, or take a right if you're going south. Again, we've talked about some of the amenities. The amenities will be increased. They will be upgraded. We've talked about shaded bleachers. Also, we've talked about and heard about what about foul balls. You can get nailed if you're not paying attention. Out at Hensley, with a foul ball, and so. Again, the left is Hensley, and on the right is Lear Park, so we'll have shade canopy over the bleachers similar to that. We'll have adequate netting, fencing, and so forth that will, protect the spectators and bystanders from most routine foul balls. A question that's asked often. Will Hensley Park be closed before the new park is complete? No. The park will be completed before Hensley is closed, so there won't be any downtime with respect to use of Hensley Park. And who will own the new park? The City of Longview. We will design and build it. Of course, the council and their technical staff will be reviewing the plans as we go. They'll be inspecting the construction, and so before the city says that we can go start our development at the park. And again, all this, and let me just interject this real quick. We're taking nothing for granted. You know, this is not a teed up deal. We're working hard to demonstrate that we're going to build a better, bigger park than Hensley. We're not pretentious or presumptuous that this is an automatic deal. So after tonight, we're going to work just as hard as we have for the last several weeks, bringing the message to the citizens, educating the citizens, listening. And so if there's anything else that maybe we have forgotten or hadn't been a suggestion made, we're still listening. So this isn't at all, you know, so whenever I say when we start work at the existing Hensley site, please don't misunderstand. There's a lot of work to be done, and we intend to do it properly. Charlie, tell them a little bit about our new development, assuming we get the vote on the 3rd.
Yeah, the property is going to be around 300,000 square feet as far as leasable square footage. That's retail and also restaurants. Predominantly all national tenants. The one thing about retail that's happened in the last 5 years is just there hadn't been a whole lot of retail development really anywhere in the country. Ever since the Great Recession, a lot of the retailers pulled their horns in and said, we're going to take a break. So during this time, they also concentrate on e-commerce. And as you know, everybody's concerned about e-commerce, how it eats into the sticks and bricks. But what a lot of retailers have done over the last few years, it's integrated both the physical location of their stores with e-commerce and also the mobile applications that we have. They call that an omni-channel. And so they've spent for the last 4 or 5 years developing all these retailers, from Lowe's down to your soft good retailers. They are now coming out with new prototypes. So you have all these retailers that really haven't done a whole lot through the last 5 years. Of course, there's been some development, but not like it was. And I don't think there'll ever be that type of development that was happening pre-07. But it pretty much slowed down for the nation. What a lot of the retailers did was revamp their stores. Sat there and said, do we need as big of a store? Or do we need a bigger store than what we have? The retailer that has brought us here is located here in Longview, but they need a bigger store. They're going to stay where they're at, but they're going to add a new store, a new concept. And that store is called the Marketplace. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Marketplace, but that is a Kroger retail store. That's 125,000 square feet. It's a large format, and they have opened up the stores in the Fort Worth area, and we're actually in the process of opening up their store in Bossier City, Louisiana. That development is about 250,000 square feet in Bossier. Just to kind of give you an idea about Bossier, that development took us about 3 years, and we worked quite a bit with the city. We had to bring in some roads, and also I understand the lady's point of view as far as the landscaping, so we heard what they wanted. So we also added some architectural features to the buildings and also made sure that there was ample landscaping. We're planning on doing the same thing here in Longview. The folks to contact at Kroger would be Gary Huddleston to find out a little bit more about that. We don't have the signed LOI yet with them. And I wanted to bring this up because usually in retail development, what we do is we contract for the property, then we go through the LOI process with the tenant. Then once we know we have a tenant, we go to the city to get the entitlements to do the development. In this case, because it's a park, we had to reverse the process. So We put the properties under contract. We're here before the city, asking the city, can we do this? Do you guys want to see this development? The development, like I said, is about 300,000 square feet. Cost is anywhere between $35 to $50 million to develop this property. Sales, estimated sales generated from the property will be about $175 million. So I think the city, if I'm not mistaken, is 2% of that, somewhere around there. So you're looking around $3 million of annual income, added income to the city, 3 to 3.5. So that's how we're doing this development. So we're here a little bit different, but still the tenant, Kroger, has told us, if you guys can get the city to agree with your plan, we will be locating at that site. So that's what we're here for, is to find out if you guys aren't. Yeah, please, yeah. The other tenant is a sporting goods store, and they are bringing in their new concept here to Longview. I'm not at liberty to say who they are, but they're coming in with a 73,000 square foot store. They felt that Longview, with the recreations that y'all have with the boat, the lakes, so on, felt like it was time to take advantage of the marketplace and build a larger store. Most of it, yep. There you go.
Folks, can we field any questions that you may have?
Yes, please. Thank you for the presentation, by the way. First question, how was the location of the new park determined?
Well, we had visited with staff. I know that there's a park plan that had been done, I think, by Friesen Nichols a few years ago that had identified locations, some spheres, if you will, geographical spheres. And so we had in the northern sector, because it made sense since this park is on the north side of town. So we looked at several different prospects for new parks, and we were able to find this particular land that fit within the sphere that this study had identified would be a good location.
Very good. Second question. Will there be any consideration to using local contractors for your development?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Third statement, not a question. I want the public to understand that these gentlemen are not City of Longview developers. You all are private contractors. We have no affiliation with you. We just may be the beneficiaries if you all decide to, if it's decided that we're here. But please understand, these gentlemen do not work for us, the council, City of Longview, in any way, shape, or form. Our disclaimer. Council.
I don't have a question, but I would like to make a comment, just that in your presentation, you mentioned the amount of time and effort you'd put into meeting with stakeholders, and I just wanted to thank you for that. I know I heard from several members of the Parks Board that they had felt like their concerns were heard and addressed specifically in making those changes. And I know you met with me on a couple of occasions as well as a public meeting. So I really appreciate the amount of time and energy that you have put into listening to our citizens and putting that into your plan. I think that's wonderful. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, gentlemen, I need to open the public hearing. So the public hearing is now open. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Allen, excuse me, one more second.
Thank you.
Public hearing is not open yet.
All right. Just a personal comment. I think it's a great forward step in recreational parks for Longview. In our comprehensive plan, this was stressed. One of the things we need was a quality of life issue. And I think this definitely covers that point. One thing, this is that this is a double win for Longview. We get the additional recreation park, and we get the increased tax base. And right now, sales taxes are down a little bit, so that's a definite win. One other thing I'd like to comment on, I've got several grandchildren that live here in town. We use Lear Park quite consistently, and I would like to thank the current mayor, Andy Mack, for the previous work he did. I don't know if how long y'all have been here, but about 10 years back, Andy Mack and his family were very instrumental in passing the bond issue that financed Lear Park. And Mayor, I want to say thank you, because that's been a wonderful contribution for the city of Longview.
Thank you, sir.
That's it.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Yes, sir. Mr. Wright.
One thing I'd like to say, I'd like to second what Ms. Ishihara said. You men came out and met in my district and met with all the people that wanted to come out. So you made a great effort to get out and get the information out and answer any kind of questions anybody had. So I want to say thank you and appreciate all your efforts to get out and get the information out to the people in the district.
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
Okay. Public hearing is now open. I do have one speaker card. Steve Malden.
Thank you, Mayor and council members and city manager, for letting us speak on this. I've always been told, if you're going to speak in public, make sure you know what you're speaking about. I'm not real sure about all the ins and outs and all the do's and don'ts of this project, but I do know one thing. Hensley Park is run its course. I've played there since a lot of the people in the audience were even born, before they were born. I've been playing there since '84, when it was a flag football field and a softball field. The way it's designed is just inadequate and unsafe. In my prime, I've hit home runs that have hit umpires, have hit players on the other fields. Due to the way the fields are designed, it's just not good. And hats off to the staff for making the fields as best they could for all these years, but it just was not designed to be a multi-field softball complex. The wagon wheel design, like they showed, is the way to go, because true, you're going to have foul balls, errant foul balls occasionally, but the home run balls are the ones that could really hurt you, and I've seen people get hurt, and just, you don't have that when you have this kind of design. I know there's some mixed feelings on losing Hensley Park as a park, but it's progress. And I think it was mentioned a few years ago about maybe doing this previously, and I was like, yes, because I used to play in other towns. Our neighboring town, they've got a nice complex, and I would never try to hold up our complex to a complex like in Arlington or some of the big cities. They have turf. I don't think turf's in our project. Okay. Anyway, I wouldn't expect us to have a complex like Arlington or Dallas or Hurst and Euless. I've played in those fields and they're just phenomenal. But this is a step in the right direction. We just need to move forward because it's kind of a no-brainer if you ask me. And like I said, I don't know about all the ins and outs and who has to do what, but I know Hensley Park has run its course and it's time to improve it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malden. And council, I'd like to make one other comment because I've heard some issues. If, and these are all ifs, because this is all dependent upon a vote by the citizenry and then an approval by us if the new park is constructed according to our wishes and desires. But I've heard a lot of issues concerning that we're going to lose the name Hensley Park. And I would propose that that's never come up and that's not going to be an issue from our standpoint. And I would propose that this council will pass a resolution stating the same, that Hensley Park's name will remain with the park. It's just going to move its location if that's the direction that this council and the citizenry decide to go. So I just want to make that note because there have been some issues with that. Any other speakers on this issue, please? Please. Well, I'll need you to fill out a speaker card, but you're welcome to come up and speak. Please introduce yourself if you would.
My name is Hayden Henry. I serve as the president of the Longview Disc Golf Association. Like others have said, our first meeting with Mr. Carney was an educational one. Within 24 hours, he was back in contact with us again, improved and learned. We're very grateful for that, very grateful to be considered a stakeholder in this process. Over the past year, 2 years, two big words I've heard a lot: parkland and sports tourism. Starting with sports tourism, disc golf is a vital aspect of that. We haven't been at Hensley Park since 1984 like the softball fields. we're new there. We spent the past 2 years developing that into the course that it is today. Like Mr. Carney mentioned in his speech, this past weekend we had groups from Longview go to Mount Vernon, Texas, of all places, to spend the weekend, spend their money in hotels, spend their money at local restaurants. And it's not just Mount Vernon. We're in Tyler all the time. You know, we're on the road traveling. Like he said in his presentation, a Tier 1 disc golf course at 28+ acres, like they have proposed, is what brings people, disc golfers, into these towns. That's what gets them on the road. And in Longview, at Hensley Park, as it said, 14 acres does not meet that minimum requirement. Our other course, Guthrie Creek, does not meet that minimum requirement. We see with this new park the potential to add our impact on sports tourism and look forward to heading that way. Continue working with Mr. Carney and anything else we can do to help out along the way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Then the public hearing is now closed. Council, any discussion? Very good. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here and for spending the time to educate us all. Okay, we're now to the consent agenda. Are there any items of the consent agenda the council would like to have removed for discussion separately?
Move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda passes. Okay. Next is discussion item. Presentation regarding the transition of the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Main Street programs. Sean Hara.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Willard. Just want to give a little bit of background on what brings us here today. As you'll recall, back on June 25th, Council chose not to renew the contracts with the Longview Chamber of Commerce for the Convention and Visitor Bureau programs, also the Main Street programs. Since that time, Mr. Willard met with Ms. Hall at the Chamber and kind of laid the groundwork for how this transition would move forward. Decision was made that we would go ahead and make the transition on October 1st, which matches the beginning of our fiscal year. Since then, we've been working very closely with the Chamber to try to make this transition as smooth as possible. So I want to thank the Chamber and their staff. They've been very accommodating, very helpful throughout the process. And so hopefully we can make this be as smooth as possible. The general idea that we've been taking with this process is that we want to take a phased in and flexible approach throughout this. Not to go in and try to do or make giant changes from the beginning, or even just basically allow us to have some time to evaluate and determine where we go from here. So what we want to be able to do is maintain those current efforts and then evaluate the programs and listen to various stakeholders. And so that's what we've been doing over the last several months, is talking with the Chamber and all other stakeholders as well. So first, on Convention and Visitors Bureau, most of you already know what a CVB does. Obviously, it is to market our community directly related to tourism. So on that, we have been funding the Convention and Visitors Bureau at 31% of our hotel occupancy tax. And so that's been what the contract is, and that's what is currently within our budget, is that 31%. So there's no change to that at this point. And as far as how that funding plays out, again, we're taking that flexible approach to determine exactly how and where we'll end up spending that money within this year's budget. And I'll be happy to bring back some more information to you as that develops. As far as the organization, what we're looking at, again, is trying to take some time for the transition. But as of October 1st, 2 employees will be transitioning from the Chamber to the city, and that is Elaine Reynolds and Carrie Fisher will be moving from the Chamber to the city this Thursday. And I would anticipate that we would eventually get to additional staff members that would come on board, but we want to take time to figure out exactly what we want each person will do, because within the city structure, we may end up doing things a little bit differently, and how we separate those tasks and utilize existing city staff as well to help with some projects. Along those same lines, for instance, our media development staff is also part of the city manager's office, and I would imagine they have already been very helpful in this process and will be helpful moving forward. We are locating the visitor center here at City Hall. Those employees will be here at City Hall, and I want to take a moment just to thank all of the employees that have been impacted by those moves. So that includes our media development staff who have been changing offices. That includes Beverly Chalk, who delivers mail for us. We are changing that location as well. And also, it's impacting our finance department, but we did have some space. We just are playing musical chairs at the moment. So if you come by City Hall over the next few days, you may notice there's some construction taking taking place. I also want to thank our facility services. They've been very helpful throughout that whole process. So it is coming to City Hall, and Brent Brevard, who is our city architect and in charge of facility services, put together some ideas here on what some of the visitor displays would be. These will be to be constructed. Won't be ready on day one, but these are just some examples of some things that would be here in the lobby. One thing I do want to say, though, is we're thinking about this in terms of, yes, we'll be having the main visitor center here at City Hall, but we want to be able to set things up so that we have additional kind of satellite visitor centers in some other places, being able to utilize some technology. So I also want to thank our IT department, our JIS department, who've been working on some things for us with that regard. So we can, for instance, do things, say, at the depot or at Mod Cobb and have additional spots where people can get that visitor information, and perhaps even Lear Park, those types of things where people can go in and use technology to get additional information. Some overall quick goals, and I won't go over all of these. The biggest thing is collaboration. Obviously, with something like this, you're talking about marketing the community as a whole, so we need to be able to collaborate with the community as a whole. So one thing, like I was saying, is we want to be able to meet with those stakeholders, something we've already been doing. One of those big ones, obviously, is our Parks Department, and looking at sports tourism and how we want to be able to focus on that during this transition and looking at some opportunities there. So talking with Scott Karen, looking at perhaps evaluating some of the efforts and how we want to market Longview moving forward. Some other kind of collaborative efforts that we want to move forward with, again, is working with our Main Street programs. Obviously, downtown is a big part of a tourism effort. Our arts groups, continuing working with our chambers of commerce, also working with those hospitality entities, Mod Cobb hotels, those types of groups. And we want to be able to look at opportunities for collaborative marketing and making everybody aware in a transparent way. Here's how we're marketing the community. Here's how your group can benefit from this. Here's how you can participate in what we're doing. And obviously, overall evaluation of tourism efforts. The Chamber's been doing a lot of things with regard to some evaluation, so we want to look at that and then make some decisions moving forward. As far as oversight, currently there is not an oversight group or a committee for tourism. And so I'm not presenting here's a plan specifically on that, but some food for thought. I think that would be a worthwhile effort. One thing that I would perhaps suggest with that, though, is that we don't create a separate entity that would be working separate from all of these other efforts, but instead create something that would essentially include and pull from members and committee members that are already serving on some of these efforts that impact tourism. For instance, our Parks group, our Main Street group, our Mod Cobb staff, our Arts Longview efforts. Pull them together and talk about overall tourism strategy to provide some of that oversight on how we're moving forward. On the Main Street side, this program is essentially to promote downtown development. It is actually done through the Texas Historical Commission. We're an urban Main Street community because we're more than 50,000 people. And they have a four-point approach of looking at all of downtown. It's not just about events. It's not just about design. It's all of these different elements of bringing your downtown forward. We have been a Main Street city, I believe, since 2007, but there's been active downtown efforts, for many, many years. The funding for this, it's been about $75,000, and that comes from our general fund. And then also from the CVB allocation, they've been giving $25,000 in addition to that. So I'd be recommending that we keep that the same. That's already in the budget. The organizational structure. So this is one of the things where we're speaking a lot with our Main Street existing advisory committee that's been working on the chamber side. And I'd like to say thank you to especially Gary Ford and all the other members of the Main Street group. One thing that Gary did is he reached out to a lot of people that have been currently involved, but also a lot of people that had been involved in years past to get them re-engaged and say, okay, if we're going through this transition, how would you like to see us move forward? And through those meetings, one of the things we discussed is Main Street programs essentially have three different ways to set it up across the state. You can have a solely city program, or you can have a solely separate independent nonprofit, or you have a hybrid. And through those meetings, what we're suggesting is that we end up going with a hybrid model whereby there would be a nonprofit, a standalone, independent 501c3 with a board of directors, and the city have some ex officio membership within that 501c3. but then also the city have a strong leadership role as well, and actually the support for that nonprofit be from city staff. That's a model that has been in place in some other cities, and that's what we're suggesting here. So it would be a Main Street staff member that would be dedicated to downtown development, but also support that 501c3. One of the ideas there is it gives that 501c3 ability to do fundraising and to be able to say, this is more than just a city effort. We've got to involve the stakeholders downtown in building up downtown. Really quickly, we also want to point out that obviously the downtown small area plan is part of this year's budget, and so we would imagine this Main Street group moving forward would be very involved in that process alongside development services and so many others as well. Also, there are a lot of upcoming events that had already been planned, and we certainly plan to make those still happen, and in fact, they're happening this week is when they start. So Downtown Live is actually movies on the Plaza first. That's this Saturday, October 3rd, so you can come on out to that if you'd like. We're showing Big Hero 6. That starts at 6:30 with activities, movies at dark. And then Downtown Live is a concert series that has been going on for several years now, and that is starting this weekend. So we invite you to come on out for that. With that, I'll take any questions if you have them.
Council? Yes, Ms. Williams.
Satellite sites, I like it, but I don't think I quite understood when you spoke in terms of maybe being able, visitors to our city being able to utilize.
Sure, additional visitor information so that City Hall isn't the only place that we would have, for instance, some brochure information, but also some of the technology type information that we're looking to do. For instance, our GIS department is working on a web-based map system so that you can click, you can interact with it and see, here's where these different amenities are in the community, here's what's nearby you right now, and also some additional kind of television display type things. Obviously, that won't be available on day one, but long term, that's what I'd like to see.
That would be much better than having paper that could potentially litter the park.
Right.
Also, collaborative efforts. Okay, tell me, have you thought through how you're going to actually make those collaborative efforts take place? Series of meetings, what are we dealing with that?
Yes, absolutely. Series of meetings, that's going to be a part of it. And ultimately, like I was saying, on the side of kind of that oversight is to intentionally set it up that it's not a separate group, but it is made up of individuals from all of these different efforts participating in that. One of the first things was when we were going through this, we actually had a meeting amongst all of the city staff that are impacted by this, that have some element within tourism. And so collaboration was one of the key things that we talked about. So for instance, with the arts groups, Dietrich Johnson and I have been talking about how we can make sure that there's collaboration between those that are also receiving hotel occupancy tax through the arts and culture grants.
And what is the benefit of the hybrid model? Is that what was in place prior to, or was it strictly a nonprofit? What's the benefit of us doing the hybrid model versus the other?
On the Main Street side of things, there's a white paper that the Texas Historical Commission gives, and there's benefits and disadvantages of each one depending on what you want to do. With this, from my opinion, on the hybrid model, it allows you to have the strength and the stability and organization of the city with regard to that, the employee side of things and all of the things that go with us as a mature organization, but then also the independence and fundraising ability of a nonprofit.
Okay.
And so one of the discussions was, okay, if we went to the solely nonprofit side, because they haven't currently been acting in that form, it may take longer for them to kind of get up to that level. And one of the discussions was, it could be that it could grow to being a totally standalone nonprofit. That could be a possibility. But again, with the downtown effort being so important, especially within the comprehensive plan, we wanted to make sure it's got that stability from that city standpoint as well.
Is there a downside to it being city operated or the city form versus the hybrid model?
I think one of the discussions really was wanting to be able to see that it's not just a city effort, and to incorporate all of the passions and independence of some of those others that would be downtown. So that, for instance, if that board of directors wanted to do something that was over and above what the city was doing, you know, it would, let's say they got gung-ho about a huge art project or whatever it was, then they could go fundraise and go get that done without getting approval from the city to go do that private-oriented project.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
All right.
I have a question about that too. How soon would we be looking at forming that separate nonprofit?
So that's a good question. One thing that we're talking about with the chamber is on the nonprofit, and so there is an existing nonprofit, the 100 Acres of Heritage, and so we're still in discussions with the chamber on what will happen with that, whether that becomes the nonprofit or whether Main Street creates a new nonprofit. So that's one of those decisions still to be made, but ultimately, hopefully we can make that decision sometime this fall and then get going on creating that nonprofit if that's what needs to happen.
Okay, and then am I understanding correctly that there would be a director employed by the nonprofit that would kind of be the director of that and then could have access to city resources and staff to help them on stuff?
What I would be suggesting is, this is similar to what Tyler does, is that it's actually a city staff member that is the Main Street manager. That's the title that's required basically through the Texas Historical Commission, that you have someone designated as that. But that person also is essentially on loan to the nonprofit, providing staff support for that nonprofit as well. There are other ways you can do it. You could also do it, for instance, like a Keep Longview Beautiful model, which is a contract position that is contracted totally to the nonprofit.
Yeah, that's kind of what in my head would be the most successful way to do it, because Keep Longview Beautiful has been so successful, and I think it's been because we have that independent position that's just part of the nonprofit, so that's their sole focus. So if we're going to do a hybrid, that just seems to make more sense to me, that we take advantage of having that separate position that would only do that, and have then city resources to support them. But I just would worry if we're going to try and do a hybrid, if we're having it only staffed by city staff, you're going to have other responsibilities, right? I mean, probably.
Well, what I would be suggesting, and how Tyler and how those others are, it is that they're dedicated to the Main Street programs. I mean, that's what they're there for. So, and they're responsible for doing all of the filing requirements, those kinds of things for Main Street. So Denton is another example of a city that's done it somewhat similar. Theirs is a little different in that theirs is actually done through their economic development arm as well, I think. But either option can be done. Again, my suggestion is simply you allow it to be that city staff member who provides support.
Mr. Allen.
I'm a little bit, first off, that was an excellent presentation. That was many points, and I'm sorry to say I couldn't get them all written down as fast as you were talking. Now, on it says down here, Convention and Visitors Bureau and Main Street Program, Sean Harrer, Media and Tourism Manager. Who will be the city representative, as Ms. Kristen was asking about, on this new program we're starting?
On the Main Street side of things, right now there would be a vacancy there, so ultimately we would need to fill that.
Or what about on the Convention Visitors Bureau?
What we're starting with are 2 employees, and then we would look to fill out the staff.
Yes, I understand that, but who's going to be the person in charge? Are you going to be?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I'll be the manager for CVB.
Okay, well, that's what I was asking. I wanted to make sure that was clear. Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, I'm sure you'll do an excellent job.
I hope so.
Yes.
Thank you, Sean, for this
All
great
right,
presentation. Very good. Next, we're to action item. Consider a resolution appointing members to the Longview Economic Development Corporation Board. Ms. Snoddy.
After meeting today, the Council Appointment Committee moves that we accept the recommendation for the LEDCO Board of Directors effective October 1st, 2015 of this year. The voting board members' recommendations are Connor Cupid, Lester Lucy, Randy Peters, Peggy Vaughn, and Ray Wade. The non-voting members are Frank Edwards, Claire Henry, Keith Honey, Natalie Lynch, and DJ Nelson.
Council, you have any questions? We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Book club discussion. Who's got their books today?
I do.
Okay. Today we're discussing the law of compensation. We have a video. No? Okay. Sorry. Terry told me we would. No problem. Okay. Just real quickly, we've had a long meeting already, but did anything stand out to any of you all about the law of compensation? Let me refresh your memory real quick. And we made a little change to it. Your success is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. And this is a very poignant sentence, because if you look at it, your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than what you take in payment. And these are things that I think we need to be looking at as a community, as our city staff, as a council. There's a quote in here I have to read to you all. It was on the video, but okay, this is great. There are no limitations of what you can earn because you can always find more people to serve. The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. once said, everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You know, another way to say that might be everybody can be successful because anybody can give. To me, that sums this up so poignantly in the fact that, you know, we all have that within our abilities. We just don't always take advantage of it. And so, because we're inherently selfish. I mean, we are. I know I am, and I try my best to give more than I receive. And so but it's hard. And so these are things that I want us to continue to work on. We had a great discussion Monday night. We had wonderful participation. I appreciate the staff that's involved, that's getting involved in the participation. And I can see things, and I can tell you, there isn't a day goes by now that I don't have someone come up to me and talk about some experience or some way this has impacted them, and I never thought that would be the case. Once again, I'm not a book club kind of guy. I'm not. But this has really been an amazing experience thus far, and I think we're seeing results, and I think we're going to continue to see results in the near future that are going to astound you. I can preview that for our next council meeting. Any other discussion, council? Thank you all again for participating. Thanks for the citizens that are participating. We appreciate it. And join us next Monday night for our next discussion. Okay, items of community interest. Ms. Snoddy.
No comments this time.
Ms. Williams.
I love the public safety update, Mayor. I have to say that.
Thank you.
And also, I just have so many things I feel like I need to say. Oh, my goodness. Okay. National Night Out. We were in a meeting this weekend. Before I say that, Tempo. I want to thank Dietrich Johnson, the transportation liaison, Laura Hill, Miss Alicia Kidd, Stoney, for providing such exemplary service to our visitors and to our community for Tempo this past weekend. Very, very successful. We were at a rail meeting today, the city manager and I, and they were still complimenting Longview, and that's what we want. We're moving toward being go-givers. National Night Out, Tuesday, October the 6th, there will be a party at the depot. Please join us there, and which is the Multimodal Transportation Center. Zonta will be unveiling the Zonta Says No campaign wrap that's going to wrap around our buses. We see that all over our community. That's so awesome. And presenting a $5,000 check to Partners in Prevention. I hope you weren't going to say that, Ms. Ishihara. But they wanted me to make sure to invite the public out because this is something that doesn't happen. We also have a police substation there, and a lot of people don't realize that. So this is a first for Longview. So thanks, Chief, also for your support in this effort. That's it.
Ms. Ishihara.
I do actually have two tonight. First, I wanted to recognize the Laterno students that participated in their workday. I don't know how many of our community members know, but they have, I think, 2 a year, and this fall, a couple weekends ago, they sent 250 students into our community and did 26 projects that helped either individuals, or I know they did a project at the library, but they very kindly helped with 2 of the homes of older citizens who aren't able to get out and do their yard work. And so this is a picture of some of the young men that were at that particular home. But just wanted to give them kudos for that work. That's really an amazing service to our community and very well needed. And they do that without much fanfare. So that's a wonderful partnership with Laterno. My next one actually is also at the Laterno Belcher Center on October 15th. The Junior League of Longview will be hosting the Poverty Conference and bringing in keynote speaker Jeffrey Canada, who is a well-known author and child advocate. If you're not familiar with him, he was featured in the Waiting for Superman documentary and has been on some TED Talks. He's an amazing, dynamic speaker and will be speaking on the crisis facing youth, what we can do to save our children and revitalize our community, which I know is a topic that each of us are concerned with. So this is going to be an all-day conference. We hope that you'll attend and learn more about how you can get plugged in. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wright.
Yes, this being Fire Prevention Week, I'd like to thank Chief Steelman and the great job that the fire department does. I know everybody probably thinks you pay too much for your homeowner's insurance, but because of our fire department and the grading system that they are on, they are statewide on a grade of 1 to 10, with 1, I guess, being the best. Isn't that correct, Chief? We're a 2. So we're really at our department is just about as good as it gets. And because of that, your homeowner's insurance is quite a bit lower than it would be if we were a 10. So I want to thank the fire department for the great job they do. And Chief, thank you.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Just a point of clarification on the proposed removal of the park designation for Hensley Park. Now, is that something that'll be in the general election? I mean, and when will that be?
November 3rd.
November 3rd, okay. Please pay attention to that November 3rd. That is very important. I just can't overstress too much. This is literally a new park for the city of Longview and city residents that is not costing the city 1 penny. And that's amazing that we're able to be in this situation that we can have that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Willard.
Mayor, I just wanted to echo Mr. Harrow's comments about the transition on the CVB process, and I want to publicly thank Kelly Hall and her staff. They've been nothing but professional in all of this, and really appreciate the transition's been really smooth. So Kelly, thank you for your professionalism.
Thank you very much, Kelly. We appreciate you being here. Okay, if you're looking for some fun, exciting ways to enjoy the fall weather, Longview Main Street has you covered. Come to Downtown Live in Heritage Plaza and enjoy live music from different local artists on October 2nd, 9th, 16th, and 23rd. The music starts at 5:30 this Friday. Music by Jen and Rio. So instead of heading straight home after work, start your weekend at Heritage Plaza in downtown Longview. Now, I don't know how many of y'all went to the ones in April, but I went to every one of them, and they were absolutely fantastic. I was amazed at the quality of the entertainers and the people there, and it was very, very entertaining, very enjoyable. So we should have hopefully good weather. Let's try to support that. On Saturday, October 3rd, come back to Heritage Plaza to see The Big Hero 6 as part of Movies on the Plaza. Kids' activities will start at 6:30, and we will start when it gets dark. Events are free. National Night Out is Tuesday, October 6th. Go to the longviewtexas.gov/NNO for more information or to find the party nearest you with an interactive map. I want to remind you about the Mayor's Challenge to donate bottled water, sports drinks, new boxed car seats, and new smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. We'd like to thank everyone who's donated so far. If you'd like to donate as well, you can drop your donations off to any fire or police station. Thank you for participating. This is a big thing for our community. Last but not least, here's the survey. In a prior survey, citizens overwhelmingly noted that one thing they want to see more of in Longview is entertainment. So what type of entertainment would you enjoy seeing here in Longview? Your choices: live music and concerts, outdoor festivals, sporting venues, nightlife, or museum arts-related activities. Winner: live music and concerts. Isn't that interesting? That's nice. That's good. Okay, what do you most enjoy about East Texas in the fall? It's finally football season. Visiting area pumpkin patches, spending time outdoors in the milder temperatures, and it's finally hunting season. and mine came in dead last. Dead last. Okay, the winner, which correlates, spending time outdoors in the milder temperatures. So our citizens telling us we want live music, outdoor concerts, and they like spending time outdoors. So these match. You know, it's nice when the surveys match. And so, you know, developers, listen. We're telling you what to do. So, okay, once again, I want to thank everyone for being in attendance tonight. It is so nice to see you engaged in our discussions and to have full houses like this. And you know what's really even nicer? Not that we don't mind. You're not here to complain. You're here to be engaged. And we thank you for being here, for your participation. This meeting is now adjourned.